this year, we have our guest speaker, who is the American Stroke Association recipient of the Pediatric Stroke Hero Award, and this is Mariah Fisher, our guest stroke speaker. So let her take it away.
Well, I'm Mariah Fisher. I am 17 years old, and I just graduated high school this year. All right, I have to ask, by raising your good arm, how many people have the T-Rex arm? Okay. We should start a T-Rex club. That would be so cool. So 5 years ago, this month, I was ready to play volleyball with my middle school. We got huddled up just before we played. I whispered something to my teammate. I noticed I was talking very strangely, and I was embarrassed. My teammate also noticed I was talking strangely, so she told one of our coaches. The coach told my mom it was probably an allergic reaction. I knew it wasn't because my tongue wasn't swelling up. But my mom wanted to take me to the hospital just to be sure. As we were driving, I was so tired. I had never been this tired before in my relatively short life. It didn't occur to me that it was related to my slurring of words. My mom ran into the ER. I opened the car door because I was planning on going with her, but I ended up falling on the concrete instead. I passed out seconds later. One of my teachers at the time sent my parents one of my projects for class. We had to pick a quote. Mine was, "Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it," by Charles R. Swindoll. He was trying to help my parents believe that I would survive. As you guessed, I was experiencing a stroke caused by an arteriovenous malformation or an AVM in my brain. I was 12, by the way. An AVM is an abnormal connection to the veins and the arteries. It can bleed at a much higher rate than normal blood vessels. It's tangled up like a ball of yarn. My hemorrhagic stroke was so severe that they had to take a huge chunk of my skull out for over 3 months to relieve pressure. Yes, it was a craniectomy for those in the medical field. After waking up from a 5-day coma, I was completely paralyzed on my, you guessed it again, dominant side. The stroke also caused aphasia. I personally just lost the ability to express speech. I could understand totally. As you can hear, it's so much better now, you probably can't tell that I ever had aphasia. Thank you. I had to deal with low energy, extreme sensitivity, and allergic reactions to many different types of medications. From wearing diapers at age 12 to graduating high school early, I have come a long, stinking way. I think I speak for all of us who had a stroke. I wouldn't recommend it. 1 star. I had a lot of people tell me some interesting things after my stroke. One family member said, my friend had a brain bleed and she's fine after 2 weeks. And this exchange was very recent, like last month. I was sitting down for a job interview. The boss was trying to shake my hand, and I can't shake her hand with my right, so I shook it with my left. The lady asked me what happened to my hand, and I really didn't want to explain my medical history to my boss, so I said it was a long story. And then she says, "It'll get better, right?" Not really. I'm disabled. And also, you haven't even seen me work yet. If I can get the job done, why does it matter? Also, it is literally illegal to discriminate against me solely because I'm disabled, in case you cared. I was headed to a high school class, and this man, a stranger, mind you, was not even near me. There was a table probably about 6 feet away from me, and he was on the other side of it. He kind of shouted, because he was so far away from me, what happened, without even caring what my name was. It made me feel that I was only interesting entirely because of my disability. I was at school to learn, or more accurately, I was there because it was required by law. I don't want strangers coming up to me asking about my medical history when my sole purpose of being at school was to learn. I am so much more than my disability. If you would have just taken the time to get to know me, that person could have gone up to me and talked about cats with me. I would have loved that. I remember when I was freshly stroked, lying in a hospital bed in a diaper, frustrated, partly that I was in a diaper, but mostly because I couldn't communicate. And I was just thinking, because how else am I supposed to pass the time? I thought to myself, I will never draw again. Drawing and being creative was a huge part of my life, and my middle school friends kind of left me after I came back to school, and they were so rude to me. And one of my former friends was an artist as well, and I was determined to draw something better than her. It was my very first drawing using my left hand, and I ended up winning a national contest, which gave me the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. and give a speech during Rare Disease Week. I had always wanted to get my driver's license on my 16th birthday. Since I can't use any of my right side for driving, it was going to be tough figuring it out. I didn't want to use an adaptive car because I wanted to drive any car, and the adaptive car would be very expensive. Despite my challenges, I ended up leaving the DMV on my 16th birthday with a driver's license without any restrictions. I have some advice for caregivers. Treat people the way you want to be treated. A lot of the caregivers I had treated me like I had a mental disability. First of all, I didn't have a mental disability. I just had aphasia. As you probably know from personal experience, aphasia doesn't affect your intelligence. Second of all, even if I did have a mental disability, I'm still human and I am worthy of being treated as such. I know you stroke survivors can probably relate to that. And everyone, don't be offended for the survivor. If the survivor makes a joke out of their misfortune, let them. So many people were very offended by me and my family's jokes. Like, I'm laughing, you can too. When I was in a coma, my dad joked, a dyslexic man walked into a bra. And And for the first time after the accident, I laughed, still in a coma. So, point be told, laughter is the best medicine. My occupational therapist, whom I love, always uses medical phrases for basic things. For example, these are not fingers, these are digits. It always makes occupational therapy so much better. But I have a question. Why did this have to happen to me, and why so young? Couldn't it happen to literally anybody else, or at least wait until I was an adult? I'm looking for volunteers. I'm not God, but I think I know the answer. The Bible says in John 9, as Jesus passed by, he saw a man blind from birth, and his disciples asked him, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, it wasn't that this man sinned, or his parents, but that the works of God might be displayed in him. So that's my hope, that God might display his works through me. Even if God doesn't restore my body to its former glory, I ask that I can be used for him. Thank you.